If the Olympics come here and suddenly those communities look beautiful, the people do not have the power.
I got the beautiful Madison Brodsky here. If you recognize her, it's probably because she's been plastered all over here. How many years have you been on TV?
A little over a decade now.
Where have all the places you've been?
Ooh, where do we start? TMZ, DoFab, Entertainment Tonight, Extra, Access Hollywood, Cowboy Channel, RFD, LA Magazine, Moto Casino, Live Play Bingo, Talk Shop Live. The list goes on and on.
I started hearing about Madison in connection with this incredible event we're doing during the year anniversary of the Pacific Palisades, Altadena, Eden fires, and the Malibu fires. But a lot of people had mentioned your name as a hero.
I was like, no way. I never did any of this for any kind of recognition. It was all because I just couldn't sit there and do nothing.
I'm really grateful for you. You were definitely a hero. You're such a bright light. I just want to say that I think that everyone can see what I see. It's undeniable, the gift that you are.
I'm just this small town girl with these small town values and ethics and heart. Now that I'm realizing the kind of power that I do hold from the work that I've done in this career, put yourself out there to help somebody else. Yeah. It could feel like it's a 1 in a million, but at the end of the day, someone has to be that one. So why can't it be you?
Hey guys, we are here live for us at least. It may not be live for you, it feels live for us, but I got the beautiful Madison Brodsky here. If you recognize her, it's probably because she's been plastered all over here. How many years have you been on TV?
A little over a decade now.
A decade. I remember seeing you on TMZ. I remember seeing you in different places. Where have all the places you've been? Just maybe group the audience into all the places they may have seen you.
Whew, where do we start? TMZ, DoFab, Entertainment Tonight, Extra, Access Hollywood, the Cowboy Channel, RFD, LA Magazine, Moto Casino, Live Play Bingo, Talk Shop Live. The list goes on and on.
You're such a doer.
I love to do.
She's a doer. So let me just say this. I started hearing about Madison in connection with this incredible event we're doing for all the fire victims and then the heroes during the year anniversary of the Pacific Palisades, Altadena, Eden fires, and the Malibu fires that destroyed so many lives. But a lot of people had mentioned your name as a hero. And so I started looking into what you did, and that's just for the audience. This is what this whole thing's really about, is trying to celebrate heroes in connection to this powerful event that destroyed so many lives. But somehow in the seeds that have been planted through all this devastation is all this purpose that we keep stepping into and all these incredible hero stories. So number one, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for what you do. And number two, I would love to really kind of get into a little bit of the hero story itself and maybe get your perspective and how your connection came to be with these fire victims.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for even coming up with this event and having a moment for us to all come together, not to necessarily put a shiny object on people's faces, but more so to just have a moment where we can continue the work that we did a year ago and still help those who are still suffering, even though it's not the hot subject on TV anymore. Right? So with that being said, I think the other day when I woke up and realized that you're having this event and I'm being honored, I was shocked. I was like, no way. I never did any of this for any kind of recognition. It was all because I just couldn't sit there and do nothing. Yeah. Like I had to do something. So to bring us back to that time period just last year, I was getting ready for the Super Bowl. That's my big time every single year. I thrive there. I do a lot of work there. And I was in a styling appointment to get all of my outfits ready for the entire week. As I exited the appointment, I got a notification on my phone saying that a fire broke out in the Palisades. And I genuinely, honestly, didn't think anything of it because we live in Los Angeles, right? Like fires happen here all the time. And it's usually like, okay, like it might be a little bit of a problem, but the firefighters got it and it will be gone soon. So I didn't think much of it. By the time I started driving, all of a sudden I started seeing big black clouds of smoke forming along like the highways and things like that. And I was like, whoa. This must be a big fire. By the time I got home, the entire sky turned red. And I was like, I've never seen this in all the years that I've lived in Los Angeles. This is crazy. And I was just addicted to the TV. I live kind of far away from the fires, but I was in a high rise, so I could see like a red line slowly tracking the skyline across the way. And on one hand, it's fascinating to be like, whoa, I feel like I'm watching a movie right now. There's no way this is real
Surreal.
life.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you're like, this isn't a movie that I'm watching. This is like my actual city on fire, which means there's so many people whose lives completely changed in this very moment. What can I do? So the first thing that I jumped to was food. These firefighters need something, right? I started making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, pasta, garlic bread, just like hearty things that these firefighters can fuel themselves up with because they're working 24/7. And that was great for a while. I did that for about a week. Then somebody, I don't know if people know this, the real reason why the firefighters stopped taking food wasn't because it was too much. It was because somebody contaminated their food because they didn't wash their hands or something like that. Or maybe the chicken wasn't fully cooked. I don't know what it was. But when that was delivered to some firehouses, all of those firemen got sick.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, we can no longer take outside food. So that day that they made that decision was a day that I teamed up with a pizza house and we were making homemade pizzas, which by the way was so fun to be able to learn how to make the dough of the pizza and like learn how to throw it up in the air. And we customized it. I would cut every single pizza into a shape of a heart because I wanted to show them that like, though this food is to fuel you, it's coming from our hearts. And like the city of Los Angeles, thanks so much for all you do. So I was like, what am I going to do with like 500 pies of pizza if you guys can't take food anymore? And they were like, you should go check out the National Guard. I was like, I didn't even think about that. Tell me more. And they're like, they need help. And I was like, okay, can you help me get connected? They did. I got credentialed. I went to the National Guard, which by the way is one extremely large warehouse room, just one room, concrete ceiling, concrete walls, concrete floor, and a bunch of like wire beds that you would see in the Army lined up in rows with one. There's so many men and women who are blue-collared jobs all over the world who dropped everything at a moment's notice to come here and help our city with one fold-up plastic table of a few boxes of snacks. That's all they had. They had no hot meals, which is crazy. So when we showed up with the pizza, their faces lit up. Yeah. It was the most genuine human reaction. My puppy Gracie, who unfortunately just passed away 2 weeks ago.
Sorry.
Thank you. She came with me and she lit up these men and women's faces. Yeah. Like she was running around with them and just giving them all the kisses, and it made their day. It was a little intimidating walking that room though. It's hundreds of these amazing soldiers with insane guns, and they all have like 2 or 3 strapped on them. And you're like, well, okay, I'm here. But again, it's crazy to think that these are the men and women who dropped everything to protect us in this very stressful, chaotic, heartbreaking event. Yeah. And they have no food. Our city's not taking care of them at all. It's almost like we expect you to do everything to keep us safe, but we're going to do nothing to make sure you're good. Yeah. So to give them food, that was amazing. We did that for a while. And as I started talking to them, they're like, oh my God, you'll never believe what I heard here. You'll never believe what I heard here. And they're telling me the things that they're seeing on the front lines. And that's when I started hearing about the looting before the news started reporting on it. And I was like, how are these looters even getting into the area? Isn't it like very secured off? They're like, that's why we're here. And I was like, is that why though? And then that's where all the conspiracy theories of like, this is definitely not just a fire. This is definitely a terrorist attack. And they started going in that direction. Yeah. Because they're like, look at the way this is happening. There's no fire sparks that are jumping from one city to the next in LA. So they brought up a lot of interesting things that I don't know how political you want to get on here.
Let's go.
I mean, it was just wild how they were like, the way that these fires were started, the way that they spread, the way that these people are getting in. LA is such a conservative and liberal area that like there's no way that our government is going to be like, oh yeah, we got terrorists in this city. So they're trying to keep it under wraps. But it was a perfect storm. And then with no water in any of our hydrants, our mayor hired her best friend to be in charge of our water and electric department. So because of that, they're just going off making so much money. She's making more money than our president is and doing absolutely nothing, not even checking to see if our hydrants have water.
Yeah.
A lot of people blamed our governor. Sure, Newsom's supposed to be checking in on our mayor and what they're doing, but our mayor should be able to do their job and hire the right people who actually know what they're doing in the city to keep us safe. So they had all these stories. And that's when I realized, why is no one else talking about this when that's all you guys want to talk about? So I realized there's a lot of amazing people who are on the front lines actually experiencing it. And yet the people who are political figures are the only ones who are being interviewed.
Yeah, they're the ones talking about it. It's right.
Right.
Did you start to think maybe there's something here for me to start doing as far as capturing some of these conversations?
Yeah, I mean, cooking and baking is a passion of mine, so it was so fun to be able to take
food's how you
2
speak
weeks.
to someone's heart.
Right.
It's a moment when it's just a moment of magic.
Yeah.
In a dark time.
And it was so fun having 2 weeks of just like diving back into that passion because I've been so busy for so long.
That's so amazing.
But
because a lot of people want to help, but they didn't do anything. They may have the urge to want, but you actually went and did something. The action of doing something is huge, but a lot of people did do something. I mean, it's not. This is one of the cool things is there's been child heroes. I even have dog heroes that were nominated. Dogs that protected neighborhoods. There's a dog you'll meet on Saturday called Zero. He's a pit bull.
I heard about him.
Zero the hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so cute. I'm so excited to meet him.
He's a real figure, but he chased looters out of neighborhoods, and he was protecting properties that weren't even his. He was the guard dog up and down the street. And
what a special dog.
He's a very special dog. But
there
were so many hero stories. But at the end of the day, I love your point that like all the figureheads get all the stock value and all the oxygen in the room. But who's talking
to share their own narrative?
Yeah, for sure, right. But what about the men and women boots on the ground? And so tell me how, one of the things that became apparent was the incarcerated firefighters. Maybe bridge that gap a little bit for people not have heard about that or know what that world is like and how you got there, because that's something that you started doing where you were getting stories out now of real people that were men and women on the ground. But that's an interesting story too.
Yeah. So I realized that while it's so fun to go back to my passion of cooking and baking, that's only doing so much. Where the bigger story here is my voice and my ability to bring other people's stories back home and share them all over the world. So I was like, let's just start interviewing people. I pitched it out to everyone I could think of. I talked to the Today Show, Good Morning America, all the late night shows. I talked to a lot of the big name entertainment outlets. And I was like, I have access to people like the incarcerated firefighters and the helicopters that are doing the water drops.
Yep.
Like, do you want the story? I'll do it all myself and you just have to air it. And they're like, I don't know if that's like what our audience wants to see. I literally got shut down by everyone. And I was like, okay, well, I think these stories are important, so I'm just going to air it on my own social media.
That's a hero right there. Good for you. I love this. No,
but I
so
do
good.
think that Los Angeles as a whole was a hero, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this city is a city where people come to make their dreams come true, and they get crazy in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
They'll use you, they'll abuse you. It's a very lonely and isolated city.
Sharks are everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the very first time, and the only time, by the way, it hasn't happened again since then, that I saw the city drop its ego and have people ask, how can I help? Other than, how can helping serve me?
Yeah.
It was more about, I got to do something.
Yeah.
There's just this energy in the city that everybody wanted to do anything they could. So lucky for me, I did have a voice and I did decide to share that. And the first place I went was the incarcerated firefighters. So got access there. First thing I did was work with their chef to cook the meals. Sat down with the incarcerated firefighters after that. And I was like, let's start at the beginning. Like, how did this program come about? Has it been around for a while? And they're like, yeah, decades. And I was like, decades? Well, I'm just hearing about it now. Why is that? And they're like, because they were shutting down the program. And then 2 days later, this fire started and they reopened it just because they didn't have enough manpower and they expect the incarcerated to do everything. And I was like, well, that's powerful. Tell me more.
Yeah.
And so to get into this incarcerated program, it's a very difficult program to get into because you have to be in the right state of mind to be able to have this much freedom that they get. The men who are in this program are everything from low-level crimes to like full-blown serial killers. But the way that they got in this program is they went through a year of talking to a psychologist. They did a lot of training. They worked directly with our fire departments to train on how to fight a fire. And so they are fully equipped. Now that they're in the program, they get to be on this very nice prison land where they're gated in, but they're not shackled. They're not handcuffed. Right. They have a whole gym that they can work out in. They have real beds. They're able to call home whenever they want to. They have a real chef that's cooking for them. But their only complaint actually was that when you're in this program, the only thing that you eat, sleep, breathe is firefighting. You're not learning anything else. Like you can't get a degree in something like you would in a normal prison. That aside, I was like, all right, are you ready for the interview now that I have more information on this entire process? And they're like, let's do it. First question. The biggest thing that I saw on social media is, well, if you're on the front lines, no one's observing you. Why don't you just run away and pretend like the fire took your life?
That's a good question.
Right out of the gate.
You're such what a great first question.
Yeah. Well, I want to know.
Let's hear it.
And they were like, we would never do that. We took away so much from the city with our crime. This is our opportunity to give back.
It's redemption.
And yet, yeah. And I might never rejoin this community that I'm now protecting by being on the front lines.
You believed them?
But yeah, 1,000%. You could feel it. You can see it. They had tears in their eyes. They couldn't believe that they had this opportunity. This is their way of saying sorry. And they're like, we might never rejoin this community. We might die in this prison.
This is rehabilitation.
But this is my way of making like, God forgive me for my sins.
Yeah.
And this was their church, basically.
Right.
This is their opportunity.
So when you got nominated and we put it out, I got a lot of stories that came in from all walks of life, from all over the map. But one of them was an incarcerated firefighter, and he told me his story. And his story was so profound that I decided just to nominate him myself and put him in the list. So I want his story to be heard because out of the darkest ashes comes sometimes like the most beautiful seeds. Yeah. And he's one I would describe as that. And he said his life growing up, you know, and I wish I could have him in this conversation with us, but you'll hear his story. I don't want to butcher it for him, but he had a life of crime his whole life. He grew up in the worst circumstances. He had the worst family setup, worst friends. It's all he knew. And he got into this program, and he thought it would just be an easy way out. Yeah. And number one, he started seeing something he'd never seen before. But then he got out and fought these fires, and he saw the torture and the devastation on a different level than he'd ever experienced. And he saw the humanitarian side of society come out along with that. And he tells this beautiful story of pain to purpose, sort of that where it was through the episode of the fire where he found his purpose, and he knows why he's supposed to be here on this world now. And like those are the stories that I love, and those are the ones that I want to promote. And there's so much good that actually is coming out of this, but we spend so much time fighting and instead of thinking about the solution or pointing fingers, which I think rightfully so. It's part of the process. We talked about this after with Blake, is like this idea of surrender and also still the accountability to fight. Right. You know, and there's this powerful duality in life that makes it incredible of how you heal and grow from something, but also, you know, still being okay to hold accountable to something. But the stories of pain and purpose are littered throughout this entire experience. And I think those are the ones, number one, we want to synergize and bring together. But the prisoner one I didn't expect. It kind of hit me from a few different angles all at once, but it all started with you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And it's because he saw you. And he goes, I love her. Oh, he's a huge fan of you, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Yeah. It was so much fun, honestly, being able to talk to them and hear their stories, because some of them come from the darkest places and had the darkest crimes that they committed. Yeah. And like you said, they saw humanity out of this experience. It really brought them kind of back down to earth. Right. And they're able to have this whole new second chance at life, even if it's still in the confines of their cell. Yeah.
No, this is really incredible. So when you look at like what this taught you, or where like have you changed from this personally? I'm just curious how this has really affected you. This is the heart of where you live. This is the centerpiece of your existence, is right here in LA.
Yeah, I think that when the fire started, my parents were very intent on making me go back home to Florida to just get out of harm's way. Sure. And I just couldn't do it. I was like, I can't abandon the city that welcomes me in with open arms when it needs me the most. I need to be able to be here and working and doing whatever I can. And I think that opened my eyes to realize that there's so many more stories I can tell.
Yeah.
There's so much devastation all over the world. It's not just here in Los Angeles as we rebuild from these fires. For those who don't know, I was raised a lot of my life in Jamaica. Jamaica just had this devastating hurricane where they are currently rationing out just rice in their grocery stores. People are getting violent with fishermen to just take home any kind of protein for their families to survive. It's really, really devastating down there. I would love to go back home and to just interview some people out there and tell their stories. I'm also Jewish, and I had the opportunity recently to sit down with some of the hostages that were taken from their homes and their kibbutz on October 7th when Hamas attacked the country. And hearing their stories is really powerful. I think that there is a special almost vibe in the room when you sit down with somebody like me instead of like a full national, international production crew for a news station.
Yeah, I feel
because there's a level of understanding, there's a level of empathy, there's a level of comfort for somebody to tell their true story rather than, okay, we're going to take 3 sound bites of yours that are going to be twisted in a way to make it sound so wild and crazy when the stories are crazy enough. We don't need to over-exaggerate somebody's pain.
Right.
We can just literally tell their story by letting them have a moment to talk. Yeah. That's all we need to do. It's communication at the end of the day. And I think that's how we heal from these fires. That's how we heal from the devastation, is we have these conversations. We ask people, what do you need? What's the next step? What do you think is a good idea as somebody who experienced the pain yourself? And then take that and then come up with a solution. Because no one is above anyone. No one's too smart, right? We have a lot of people that, like, you might be more intelligent than I am, but I might have more creative ideas to take your intelligence and make it happen in reality, right? So when there's collaboration and communication, that's where the gold is. Yeah. So to really just give the people who are in pain, the people who are in it more than anybody, a time to speak, ask them what they need, and then come together and figure out solutions for that. That's where we're going to start healing as a humanity.
No, I love that. I remember Warren Buffett said that no one would even know him if it wasn't for his assistant. So he gives credit to his success and the light because of the assistant that organized his life so beautifully. And she's worth $100 million, by the way. So, but she was the one behind the scenes. It's the things. It's the collaboration. It's the connection of great people.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. The aftermath of this thing. So many people we talk to have really looked at this 2 devastating events. One is the fire itself, and the one is the aftermath of how to rebuild and the problems around that. What is your perspective on that situation from your angle?
On how to rebuild?
Yeah.
I think that it's a long ways away. I don't know the last time anyone who's watching went down to the Palisades area, but it still looks like a zombie zone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like there's still...
We flew in a helicopter over it twice.
Yeah.
It's
there's
wild.
still like fires that are burnt to the ground and frames of homes all over the place. It's going to take a long time to, A, even just clear out that area, and B, like, that's the first question. Where are we getting the funding to clear out that area? B, where is it going? Yeah. And then after that, you have to rebuild. Then after that, rebuilding's hard enough because there's all these new building codes and laws. So like, where can you build? How can you rebuild? The homes that were on the PCH that were beautiful, those are never going to be able to be rebuilt.
Like, gone forever.
Yeah. Like there's no way building codes will allow those to come back. I think.
And what are your thoughts on that? Is that just and so and right and fair, knowing that a grandfathered in property on the PCH in Malibu could be, in many cases, this could be family properties passed down. I mean, those losses are devastating. Mm-hmm. You know, we think, oh, it's a rich person problem. I have a whole series of thoughts on that. But this idea that that house can't be rebuilt, they can't put back what was there because of the new setback laws that are, you know, often the Coastal Commission has so much power. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? Is that right, just and so in your mind?
It's back and forth, right? Because if you are to be able to rebuild, you could rebuild it with like better materials and things along that nature, which then makes your home way more valuable than it was before. Is it fair to take away someone's land and be like, you can't rebuild here because of new coats. No,
Yeah,
not
10
at all,
feet,
but
10 feet in a lot of cases means you can't rebuild.
Right.
There's not enough there. There's not enough infrastructure without those 10 feet to do it.
But also at the same time, if I was in that area, let's say my family was wealthy at one point, was able to buy that land, built that home, and then it was passed down generations. I have absolutely nothing, but thankfully I have my family's home, and that's where I lived until these fires happened. There would be something in the back of my mind of, do I want to live in an area that for the rest of my life could be making me sick because of the air quality? It's going to be a really, really long time before it's going to be healthy to be walking around in that area.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider. And that, I mean, I think first what's interesting from my perspective, when I started thinking about the event, for example, I love the charity part of it. The philanthropy part is my favorite part. The creative part, like making magic happen, bringing people together. That
Which
I thrive.
you're doing, by the way.
Thank
That's
you.
what Saturday's all about.
I thrive there. It's my favorite part, but this was different because I never attached a mission to a natural disaster. It never crossed my mind. And when I got into it, I realized if you're going to try to restore hope and you're going to have all this marketing material, it's going to reach the world trying to like bring this missions to life, right? You really got to figure out who you're speaking to first, and you have to understand you need to be speaking to the person that lost everything first, and the most important person that your message will resonate with. And if you're going to try to bring back hope as part of bringing a magical event together to somebody that lost everything, how would you do it? Because what we've seen with charity and philanthropy over the last year with this event, there's been so much fraud and there's all these allegations, and it's like, oh, here we go trying to do something with great intention, but that's not going to bring back hope to that person. And so I started immersing myself inside their pain and what their problem is. And I figured before we do it, we better be really well educated in understanding what the problem is. And these are all the rabbit holes I went down. But I don't think I would have done the event, honestly, or even attempted it if I hadn't come up with some ideas that I think have precedent, they're feasible, they're realistic, and they can be done. And even if
that's the whole thing about hope, right? You don't want to create unrealistic hope.
Yeah. There has to be precedent for hope to have a seed of light. And there is a lot of precedent and for me, I bring it down to this fundamental question, right or wrong, and you could discuss the semantics of the how, but the reality is if it's true that bureaucracy has gotten so big that people can't restore their rights in a way that makes sense, do people still have the power in America? Do people still have the power in California? And if they do, what is the vehicle that they can leverage and use? What's the pathway for them to say, hey, this doesn't make sense. We lost everything in a natural disaster. This isn't a loophole for rich people. This is a loophole for people that lost everything in a natural disaster. The underinsured, the people upside down their properties for no fault of their own, the people that lost everything and just want to rebuild what was there, not knowing that in most cases, the average entitlement process from raw land to just being able to build in LA in some of these communities is about 10 years. A lot of people don't realize this is a very rich man's game in and of itself. What about the just normal homeowner that in Altadena lost a property? She's looking at a 10-year rebuild process as well in most cases. But you also have to think about the public infrastructure side. So it's a complex problem. I really advise everyone who really wants to try to make an impact in anything in life, dive deep into the issues before you just speak, and know what you're talking about.
There's a lot of chaos, I'll say, in that as well, because there's just not enough homes in LA to hold everybody who was here before, with both of those communities completely burnt down. A lot of people, when I used to live in an apartment complex, there were a lot of people whose homes burnt down. They moved into the apartment, but they don't understand apartment and condo life. So it's adjustment there. What I want to keep my eye on, because I don't think the people have a voice anymore, like at all, in my opinion. But what I want to keep an eye on to see if that's true or not is, how is the city going to look when both the World Cup and the Olympics are here?
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Because if the Olympics come here and suddenly those communities look beautiful, the people do not have the power, because it's been a full year where no one cared about it and they didn't touch it.
It seems like
the second that the cameras come and we're on the international stage.
Blake mentioned that yesterday.
It's going to be interesting.
No, you're right. It would be. I mean, the funding for the public infrastructure, first and foremost, outside of residential communities, that we're looking at taxpayer dollars, and you have Governor Newsom going to D.C., which I think was just a political ploy to make it look like he was doing something, asking for $40 billion. So can I give you an idea? Just one?
Yeah.
I'd love to just challenge you with it because you're so smart and you're so well connected. But I wrote about an initiative as part of an idea, and I hope I'm wrong because, I mean, someone's probably more right if you're actually going to debate the construct of the idea. It's a 3-part plan, but it looks at how would you restore the residential problem and fast track a permitting process to at least give that land value. The second you have a fast track to permit, and I know I can build there, that land's very valuable. I can at least leverage it. I can sell it. At least there's got to be some medium of standard for a home that's been, in a natural disaster like this. Number 2 is thinking about public infrastructure. And instead of looking at bureaucracy to replace it, I looked at Silicon Valley. Companies that owe California everything. These are trillion-dollar companies, by the way. You wouldn't even notice it on their balance sheet with one company fixing the whole thing. And I looked at California companies like Disney, that some of the smartest engineers, smartest, most creative minds on the planet, NVIDIA, Tesla, Google. I mean, they're littered up there. And I think, you know what? They already write the checks in most cases, but they go down black holes. What if they were the ones that you could sort of rally, get the CEOs and these heads of these big companies say, hey, why don't we go rebuild Southern California? And let's donate it back to the city, the schools, all the public infrastructure, everything, because that's got to simultaneously happen if you're going to rebuild community. You got to do both. You can't just have residential permitting fast-tracked and not think about the public infrastructure side, but I don't want bureaucracy involved with any of it. Let's just see if the private sector can solve all of it. These are unique ideas, but I wrote it in the form of a ballot initiative.
I love it, and I think it's so perfect. The only thing is I know the city so well, and I know the people who are at the top. And usually the people who are at the top of these huge companies are people who are somehow involved in politics so that they can make sure that they're profiting in the end without the public knowledge. Yeah. So, in order to make that happen, you would have to find the perfect CEO who isn't in it for money and their own political gain.
Yeah. Well, I think
and that's the hardest part.
I think if you get the cool part, what's interesting about this fire, this natural disaster, and Mel Gibson, I think actually said it so clearly. If they can do it here, they can do it anywhere, but nothing like this has ever happened. And where some of the most influential people in the world live, some of the most powerful people in the world live. And if I can't rebuild, nobody can. If they can do this to us, they can do this to anyone. And what happens to you, and so some of the advice I'd given when I'd given this out I wanted people to kind of battle test it was to really first ask the question, is this a rich person problem? Because if you can't overcome that, the public won't buy into it and the media will eviscerate you. And so we looked at the 2018 fire in Northern California in Paradise, a whole town that was wiped out. And that's an interesting story. Matthew McConaughey just played a school bus driver in a 2025 movie where he was a hero, and they saved countless children's lives in that fire. But the connection was that the median household income of that was $49,000. So I looked at California in a different region, but still in California, and it is alarming what happened in 8 years later in Paradise. And it's a grim reality of what could happen down here. Outside the Olympics concept, which I think would be inflammatory, to your point.
Because they're going to clean it up for it. That's what's going to be the thing that makes them finally do something.
Yeah.
They're not going to have the Olympics here and be on an international stage and allow us to look like we haven't done anything.
Would that be just public infrastructure side, or would that be trying to actually solve the rebuilding efforts of private citizens? Or just the pretty parts?
I think it's just the cleaning up.
Yeah.
Of okay, yeah, we haven't had time to rebuild. It's going to take a long time. But look, it's cleaned up. It looks nice.
Yeah, right.
Maybe even use the land for a soccer game.
Sure.
I think they'll try to get creative.
Symbolism.
To honor the victims.
Right.
But we all know, no, you're not. You're literally showing us again, you don't care about us and you're profiting off of devastation.
Yeah.
Because now you're showing I'm going to use the land for this and just say that we're honoring them.
Yeah. What do you, so before I ask you the next question, the idea that we looked at is for precedent, is there a possible way to prove people still have power? Was looking at ballot initiatives. In an election year, 2026 is an election year, and a ballot initiative is interesting because it really coincides with the idea of freedom. And it's that if you don't like something, then go put it on a ballot and bypass the legislative process by voting on it. And you vote with numbers. You got to get something on a ballot. You'd have to have a legal scholar write the language so it's specific to natural disasters that happened, in California. I think it could be blanketed, by the way. But that has precedent. Governor Newsom has done it many times where he bypassed legislative process, but for the opposite way, where he skipped past it to push something through, and he did it. He got signatures really easy. So the idea is if you get enough great people behind it that have enough power and authority, and there's a grassroots movement here that is very in line for something like this to potentially happen, but you just got to get a bunch of normal people to understand the problem and let them recognize that this is about me, not Mel Gibson and not Paris Hilton. They have to be able to see this as their problem all over California, Northern California, all the way down to the tip of San Diego. And that's the optimism that I have, is that this could be deployed through people like you, through people like Spencer. By the way, what do you think of Spencer?
I adore Spencer Pratt. I think people know him for one and only one thing, and that was his reality show and him being this like obnoxious, egotistical man.
I remember that show.
Yeah, but beneath that, if you realize that TV is TV, and if he wasn't that way, they wouldn't have a show.
Yeah.
Then you realize that he actually is such a sweetheart who genuinely cares about everyone.
Yeah.
He is actually a really peaceful person. Like, he's very much about meditation and crystals and, of course, the birds that you guys see on social media.
He loves Heidi.
And he's
got a big heart.
Loves his family.
Yeah.
And that was devastating for him to lose his home, as it would be for everybody else who experienced it as well. But he is literally doing the work. I think he is literally fighting to make exactly what you're saying happen. He's trying to make people understand that this is an everyone problem, not a celebrities who lost their home problem.
Yeah, I feel obligated to help him now.
Yeah. He's very, very intent on that. Like, I think he said something along the lines of Heidi made a song and we're not trying to make money on it. Instead, we're raising money. So if you buy Heidi's song, we're going to take that money and we're going to donate it to the people who need it the most, who lost homes in the fire. And so that's the way he's giving back as well.
Maybe she should sing at our event. I should reach out to her.
She should sing at the event. That's a genius idea.
Yeah, it's cool. It'd be symbolic, but for all the right reasons. And everything funnels to the right place. I know he's got political.
That's literally why she created the album that she's now able to perform. I don't know her, but I do know Spencer.
Maybe ask her if she'll do it, because I know he's got political rules right now for the month. But I wonder
he
if
could pass the message.
I wonder if we can get through to her. Yeah, that's cool. I'm really grateful for you. You're definitely a hero. You're such a bright light. I think the whole world got it, at least through our audience. And we had 1 billion views last year, so we're reaching people. But
nice.
I just want to say that I think that everyone can see what I see. It's undeniable, the gift that you are. And if you were going to give any inspiring advice to some young girl out there, maybe that's looking at you as someone that's a hero, that is in the line of work that is inspiring them to step into the light as you do every single day, what would your advice be?
I think that whether it's a job or an opportunity like this to really just put yourself out there to help somebody else, it could feel like it's a 1 in a million, but at the end of the day, someone has to be that one. So why can't it be you?
That's so good.
Just go for it.
Just go for it. Great advice. You guys, thank you so much. Please go support this incredible soul right here. Where can they find you if they want to go follow you, support you, give to your cause? And I know you have big things coming up. I didn't tee you up because I think it's a surprise, but you guys, you got big things in the works. We got to make sure we support Madison here.
There's so much going on. I mean, even in these next few months alone, we have awards. So just the one thing that we talked about, but everything else is like award season and Super Bowl, NBA All-Star, like Coachella. There's so much going on, which I feel like actually Coachella could be a good event for you guys to create something to push this mission through.
The next event I'm going to be doing, it's on a dark topic. I always put a powerful mission to an event that rallies people together for a cause that I believe in, and I try to connect in a way to give in a meaningful way. But we're going to go after a really important topic of sex trafficking.
Coachella's great for that as well, actually.
Yeah. No, I'd be honored to think about a creative way to connect dots there.
Let's put our heads together on that one. But anyway, guys, you can follow me at Madison Brodsky. And thank you so much for doing all of the work to just bring all of these people together. I did this completely just because I knew I could. And worst case scenario, somebody thought something I said was cool, on social. When I was interviewing these really intelligent people, I had no thought process of like, this could go viral or this could be good for me in any kind of way, or I could be awarded and sitting down with really cool people.
I don't think it works.
No, it doesn't. You have to be really authentic and genuine with it. And literally the only thing I thought was, That's an incredible story. People need to hear that story. Let me interview you. We didn't even talk about it, but I literally went up in the helicopter and did a water drop with the pilot just so that I can feel what it was like. And they get so close to the fire when they're doing a drop, and those windows are not on the helicopter because they would shatter from the heat of the fire. So you're like leaning over and you feel the heat on your face. It's wild to be up there.
Where can someone see that footage? I'd love to ask that. Is there places to go kind of number see the interview, see the footage?
I have little pieces of it up on my social media and also on YouTube.
Okay.
But maybe we can also work together and package it and create it a little TV show.
I'm down. Let's
little
go.
mini series.
Yeah. Well, this is the start of the work for me.
Me too.
I'm working all year on this. Yeah. I believe what we're doing. I believe it.
I mean, like I said when we first started this interview, I'm just this small town girl with these small town values and ethics and heart, living out a big dream in the big city.
That's crazy. I love it.
So I'm a mixture of the two.
I feel it.
And so now that I'm realizing the kind of power that I do hold from the work that I've done in this career, but I still held on to the same person that I was when I lived in Tampa and Jamaica, I'm ready to combine those worlds to really use my voice to share really cool, interesting, meaningful stories.
Yeah, I have chills and I feel it. And to me, you are like such a rare bright light, and that's it's the combination of the two, because without that small town girl that has the big dreams, if you lose her, like you lose you. So don't ever lose you, because that's the one that'll change the world.
That's another piece of advice. If you're coming to LA, stay to yourself.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah,
yeah. Don't let the city change you.
I'm really grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
This is cool. If you guys like the show, just remember we can't move this message if you guys don't move it with us. So if she moved you, please move this message to your people. We're really grateful for you. We'll see you next time. Thank you.